after Donald Trump held his second presidential inauguration indoors, as it was a record-setting 20 degrees outside with 30-mile-an-hour wind with single-digit wind chill. Former comedian and current NPC Stephen Colbert rushed to the air to cry about it.
So at the last minute, Trump moved his inauguration indoors. Totally understandable. So, Mr. President, it is with the utmost respect that I say, always the big, strong, greatest president ever. Feeling a little chewy? You want some hot cocoa with marshmallows? You weather cuck.
I know these late-night talk shows don't write their own jokes, so at this point, you'd have to assume his writers are secretly shaming him, as Colbert calling somebody a weather cuck is just projection more than anything, as he constantly does segments over climate change, even calling out Trump over it during his last administration, as far as 9 years ago, reiterating these same tired talking points.
Do you believe in climate change? Do you think it exists?
There is a cooling and there's a heating. I mean, look, it used to not be climate change. It used to be global warming, right? That wasn't working too well because it was getting too cold all over the place.
Fun fact, nothing he said there is a fact. First of all, climate change is a term made up by lobbyists to make global warming sound less bad. Second, it's not getting too cold all over the place. Last year was, again, one of the hottest on record.
Which is interesting, as today, in New Orleans, people are ice skating through their streets, as after the record-setting wind chills at Trump's inauguration, the Gulf Coast is getting a once-in-a-lifetime blizzard warning. Now, I'm not making a statement on whether the weather is warming or changing or whatever. I just find it ironic when someone calls you a weather cuck, while for nearly a decade, they've allowed the government to cuck them with the weather into accepting higher taxes, more expensive energy, and eating insects, all in an effort to control the temperature of the earth. The same government that fought drugs and made it worse. The same government that fought homelessness but made it worse. That same government that fought Trump for over 8 years and only made him the most popular president ever. But it makes sense, as this wouldn't be the first time Colbert was forced to turn his show from chuckles to cuckolds. As Mays Moore points out in 2020, he was skeptical of pharma.
Some folks are skeptical. Thankfully, Big Pharma has come up with a way to reassure the public about their motives, and it's all in their new ad.
Vaxilax is the only medication proven to reduce anxiety about Big Pharma taking advantage of you in a national crisis. You can trust Vaxilax because of its mascot, Professor Cashington, the ethical money sack.
But all that quickly changed as his show was basically shaming him for dare speaking against them, as no amount of money could make anybody with dignity do this. Where they even made him do a segment with Fauci, having him put on cat ears to shill for the establishment.
This is really going to sell it.
Only if you're with me, Stephen.
100%.
All right.
Okay, right?
Don't forget to get your booster.
Which is another example of how these late-night hosts have zero virtues. The same way he calls Trump a weather cuck while bending over to plug their climate agenda, he became the dancing mascot for a vaccine that ironically makes him Trump's cheerleader, as that's the product of Trump's Operation Warp Speed. So does he really dislike Trump, or does he just read off the pre-approved Democrat chuckles for cuckolds? Because let's be clear, you can criticize Trump, but they just don't let him do it in a way that also hurts the establishment. Although I think Trump and Vance can go down as the greatest administration of our lifetime, I also think Trump made the mistake of not firing Fauci. Trump took away too much red tape to push through Operation Warp Speed, and I believe he may be making the same mistake with his new AI infrastructure project that may allow artificial intelligence to develop mRNA shots customized for individual people. I'm not saying because we had a bad experience with it last time, we should never touch that technology again, as that's how they're stifling the evolution of nuclear. I just want to point out how we should be wary of combining that experimental medication they got rushed through last time with an experimental technology in AI. Since that sounds like the prologue to every post-apocalyptic movie ever, and it's sad because the average American agrees, so it would be a great topic for a late-night talk show host to criticize Trump over. But they can't, because they're probably going to be used to promote it later, as all these talk shows are less about jokes than they are about feeding you propaganda propped up with a laugh track. So if you appreciate my concise, lighthearted commentary on the tragic status that is today's reality, hopefully I've earned your subscription, and right now there's a bit too much going on. So before you check out that next video about how CNN's latest hoax backfired, let me leave you with some Trump Executive Order ASMR for relaxation.